Once in a small, picturesque town nestled between rolling hills and sparkling rivers, there lived a young girl named Nora. She was a kind-hearted soul, known by all for her bright smile and compassionate nature. However, she had a secret. Nora's happiness seemed to fade in the quiet corners of her home, where the only company she kept was herself. Despite the warmth of the people around her, she often felt lonely and disconnected. One sunny afternoon, while walking through the bustling market square, Nora noticed an elderly woman selling baskets of bright, vibrant flowers. The woman sat quietly by her stand, her face marked with years of wisdom, but her eyes were soft and inviting. Curious, Nora approached her. "Are these flowers for sale?" she asked. The woman smiled warmly and nodded. "Yes, dear. Each one carries a story of love and care." Nora smiled back, but something in the woman's words resonated deeply. She decided to buy a small bouquet, hoping it would brighten her home. As she walked back, Nora passed by several people who seemed burdened by their own lives. Families rushing past, children arguing, and neighbors working in their gardens with frowns. That evening, Nora sat alone in her small living room, the flowers gently resting on her table. The quiet loneliness filled her heart again. But as she gazed at the flowers, she remembered the old woman's words. Each one carries a story of love and care. Nora decided to share that love. The next morning, she gathered her courage and walked to the home of her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, who rarely had visitors. She knocked gently on the door, holding out the bouquet of flowers. Mrs. Jenkins opened the door, her eyes lighting up in surprise. "For me?" she asked, touched. "Yes," Nora said, smiling. "I thought you might enjoy them." Mrs. Jenkins's face softened, and she invited Nora inside for tea. As they sat together, Nora shared stories about her life, her struggles, and the quiet emptiness she had been feeling. Mrs. Jenkins, in turn, spoke of the years she had spent raising her family, the love she had given, and how she had learned that happiness grew when shared with others. That afternoon, Nora realized that the act of sharing had filled her heart with warmth. The simple gesture had not only brought joy to Mrs. Jenkins, but had also lifted her own spirits. She began to visit other neighbors, bringing small gifts, sharing her time, and simply offering a smile. Over time, Nora's small acts of kindness began to weave a fabric of connection in the town. The people she had once seen in passing now greeted her with warmth and smiles. She saw joy in their eyes, and it became clear to her. Happiness did not come from keeping things to oneself, but from spreading it around. As Nora's happiness grew through these shared moments, the town began to change. People who had once been distant and caught up in their own troubles started helping each other. Neighbors who had never spoken began to have long conversations. Families gathered more often, and children played together in the streets. Nora had learned the most important lesson: sharing makes happiness grow. The more she gave of herself, whether through time, kindness, or love, the more she received in return. The town, once filled with lonely faces, became a vibrant community, alive with connection and joy. One evening, as Nora sat outside her home, watching the sunset paint the sky with hues of pink and orange, she smiled to herself. Her heart was full, not from keeping things for herself, but from giving and receiving the love of others. And so, Nora shared this lesson with the world, encouraging everyone to embrace the power of sharing. Happiness is like a flower, she would say. It grows when you share it with others. Like and share this story, for the more you share, the more happiness grows.